Ho, 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 ho. Did we do it? I think we did it. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. Today we have lots of fun stuff to talk about in the hardware space, including but not limited to, of course, the RTX 3060 with 8 gigabytes of memory and 128-bit bus, along with the RX 7900 GPU release date. And the disappointing side of things, TSMC says efforts to rebuild US semiconductor industry are doomed to fail. Remember we said hodl silicon? Might not have been incorrect there, because boys, things are looking interesting and it's looking like you aren't going to be able to be buying much silicon here in the near future. Also, Bitcoin could rally at 63K ahead of next mining reward halving. And the big news, of course, for the day will be Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter, and of course Binance's support backing that, and all of the Dogecoin pumperoonie that's going on, because basically if Elon Musk does anything, he farts into the wind and Dogecoin pumps. That is how Dogecoin works. And so I hope you have some script miners running. I got to go get my X5 up and running. Check out Coastal Crypto Mining and use promo code SOAT at checkout for 5% off your X5. They are badass rigs. If you want to check that out, you for sure can do that. But before we get into it all today, we are going to run the ad for today. Sit back, enjoy, and then we'll get into the show. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and for all the support. And remember, after the show today here on YouTube, we will be doing a community game day for the release of Modern Warfare 2 over on twitch.tv.
Established in 2017, Octominer is an international mining hardware company. They manufacture and engineer the best mining equipment in the industry and supply rigs to some of the largest mining farms around the world. Their GPU mining rigs also integrate with the top crypto operating systems like HiveOS, MinerStat, and Simple Mining. All parts come with an international 1-year warranty. Exciting news! They will be adding ASIC miners for sale to their website soon and launching a new product built specifically for ASIC home miners. Please visit octominer.com or email support@octominer.com for questions.
Quick reminder, due to our independent attitude here on the channel, we do seem to get suppressed by YouTube. So I'm going to reach out to the community and ask that you be the notification for everybody to be aware that the live stream is live. You can do that by hitting the like button and the share button and sharing it out to your various social media platforms, or heck, just to your mom and dad in text. Whatever you can do to help support the channel, I highly appreciate, especially with everything that's going on. That being said, of course, we don't have to worry about suppression on Twitter anymore. Possibly. But before we get into that, I have a quick correction from yesterday. I had gotten an email from Brave Rewards, Brave Creator Program, which I am a part of. If you're not familiar, the Brave Creator Program is essentially a way for creators to earn cryptocurrency via the Brave browser. The Brave browser is a Chromium-based browser that you can utilize and download. And if you're utilizing the Brave browser and watching any of my content, whether that be on Twitch, YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, whatever, I will get kickbacks, albeit very, very little kickbacks, but I do get kickbacks, and you can also donate, as I am a Brave creator. Now, yesterday I was emailed and they said that my region was no longer valid, but that was corrected, and I did get a follow-up email, as well as thanks to Bitsby Trippin for reaching out to someone at Brave to get clarification on this. My country is supported, my account and state, and my account has been reinstated. So I am a Brave creator again. Thank goodness. I don't know what will happen to the balance and all that. It looks like it's there, but it said, "Dear Brave creator, if you received an email about your channel no longer appearing as verified due to being in an unsupported region, even though you are in a supported region, then please disregard that email and it was a mistake." So there you go. It was a mistake apparently by them. We're back on the Brave Creator Program. That's super helpful. And I wanted to just make that correction from yesterday. Now, digital bank Revolute to allow customers to make purchases with crypto balances. Now, or Revolt, excuse me. No, Revolute. That's right. All right. So here's the deal. In the UK, if you're over there, you are going to have an option for crypto balance purchases. The fintech firm recently won registration from the UK's financial regulator to offer crypto services. Digital banking firm Revolute, I'll get this correct, is adding a crypto spending feature that will enable customers to use their crypto balance to pay for everyday purchases using their Revolute card. The service will be available starting November 1st, and for a limited time, customers will also be able to earn 1% cash back on all their crypto balance spent, according to the company notice. Revolute's new feature comes after the UK-based firm won registration from that country's Financial Conduct Authority to offer crypto services in the UK, following a lengthy wait to gain approval. The platform offers in-app trading for more than 30 digital currencies for its more than 20 million personal users, according to its website. Now, obviously, as crypto miners, we're always looking for ways to liquidate our crypto mining assets. And in the UK, it's no different. Obviously, a lot of people are turning off in the UK. A lot of people in the US are still turning off. But, you know, if you are trying to pay that exorbitant power bill that you have built up with mining and you need to spend some of your crypto to do it, this could be an option for you in the UK. Obviously, there's other options as well. And don't forget to delete PayPal. Just a little public service reminder there. All right. So Google introduces the cloud-based blockchain node service for Ethereum. This is getting interesting. Now, we've been talking about centralization of Ethereum on cloud hosting platforms. Primarily right now, a lot of it is on AWS. Over 40% of the nodes that are run for Ethereum are on AWS. I had been talking about this for a while. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said, if, Google was smart, what they would do would spin up a very easy way for somebody to turn on a cloud-based node via their services. And they took my idea and they ran with it. The move highlights the growing attention that technology giants are paying to blockchain, crypto, and Web3 projects. Tech giant Google said Thursday it will be launching a cloud-based node engine for Ethereum projects. The company said its Google Cloud Blockchain Node Engine will be a fully managed node hosting service that can minimize the need for node operations, meaning that Google will be responsible for monitoring node activity and restarting them during outages. A node is a type of computer that runs a blockchain software to validate and store the history of transactions on a blockchain's network. At the time of launch, Google will be supporting only Ethereum nodes, of course, because what is the most power, right? It's Ethereum. Where are we looking for control over a majority of assets within blockchain, within cryptocurrency? Ethereum. There is no denying that a majority of DeFi, transactions, etc., is on the Ethereum network. You control Ethereum. You basically control cryptocurrency at this point. That's just a fact of the matter that we have to pay attention to. Obviously, we're a proof of work channel, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that a majority of DeFi trading, everything that's going on, is on Ethereum. We already have threat from the SEC as it's classifying it as a security instead of a commodity, as well as the threat of basically the federal government having jurisdiction over all transactions on Ethereum because a majority of the nodes are based within the United States. Unfortunately, this quick spin up of Google doesn't necessarily stop that. And now we're just going to essentially have two competing giants within the corporate big tech that are vying for control over the most amount of nodes for Ethereum. And the really interesting part here is that it sounds like Google's implementation in particular is going to have a lot more say and a lot more control over your individual node. If you are out there running nodes, we already have a centralization problem within Lido with staked ETH and all of that, and Coinbase. Everybody kind of basically, because nobody has the 32 ETH themselves, they're just dumping it into the staked ETH thing. And then these companies are basically standing up those nodes. Then we have the actual infrastructure, which is basically centralized within the Google and AWS range. So we have multiple points of attack of centralization in companies and entities that control Ethereum at this point, and it's getting worse. And so we need to pay attention to it. Obviously, convenience is killer. Like, the problem is with most of us in life, and I do the same thing, I'm sure you guys are the same way, right? We lean towards convenience. What is the easiest way to do this? What Google is doing is providing the easiest way to do this. And unfortunately, it's not the right way to do it, right? What we would rather see is people self-hosting nodes so we could avoid sanctions and jurisdiction over the transactions by a government, right? By the US government, by the federal government in particular here in this case. But if we start to get more centralization within Google and within AWS, and most of those nodes are run in the US, then you see where we run into the problems. And that doesn't even include the big elephant in the room with Tornado Cash and Flashbots, which are sanctioning and participating within the sanctioning of Tornado Cash. And it's getting crazy out here right now, right? And notice that, yeah, so Google's announcement signifies the growing attention that technology giants are giving towards blockchain, crypto, and Web3 projects. Blockchain is changing the world stores and moves its, the way the world stores and moves its information, Google said in an announcement. And that is true. Earlier this month, Google formed a partnership with crypto exchange Coinbase to provide crypto payments for its cloud services. Obviously, it's like, this is a win-win. What do you got, right? It's all going to be integrated. You got your staked Ethereum wrapped, you're dumping that into Coinbase. Coinbase is taking that and taking the Ethereum and then staking it on the Google platform. And then that's it. It's all there, right? Look, there's the argument for adoption. I get it. We could say adoption's great. This is going in the right direction, but we got to be careful, right? Because the more that this happens, the more control you put into the hands of big tech and the government. And that is where I see an issue here, right? We haven't ever been a big fan of like keeping your coin in centralized exchanges like Coinbase. I still never will be. Coinbase is a good service for liquidating cryptocurrency as needed into our current fiat system. But holding it in there to earn some sort of staking fee off of your ETH, which is then centralized under Google, is not helping anybody. Okay. So Google Cloud and BNB Chain announced a partnership to support the growth of early stage Web3 startups. In addition, Google announced in January that it was building a digital assets team for Google Cloud, showing its commitment to building Web3 projects. Now, if we're comparing this to Meta, which we talked about yesterday, and check out yesterday's video clip over on the Blind Run channel if you're interested in that. If we compare this to what's happening with Meta, it does appear to me that Google's taking the better position here from a business strategy standpoint when it comes to cryptocurrency, as opposed to, of course, Facebook Meta, which is going with the whole metaverse thing side of things, which is obviously failing them as we've seen it. But it's not really that cut and dry, because in this current recession that we are currently experiencing, we are seeing a huge reduction in the amount of money that people are able to spend, right? There's less money, which means there's less crypto ads getting spun up and all that. And that means, of course, less money for content creators, less money for platforms. And part of that is going to affect, of course, the entire industry. We talked about that yesterday in the main show as well. And it's very, very difficult to maintain, for these businesses to maintain their growth in these other platforms when they move into cryptocurrency. I just think that still, though, if we look at it objectively, Google's strategy here is way better than Meta's strategy, in my humble opinion. That being said, it is going back into this whole realm of, unfortunately, centralizing cryptocurrency more and more. What it does tell us is that we do know for sure we are going to go through a transformation of digital finance, right? And we've been talking about that for a long time. I believe it's inevitable. It's not financial advice, because I don't know which path we take, centralization versus decentralization, or some form in between, which is probably where we're going to be for the next 10 to 30 years. We're going to be into kind of like a weird, muddy spot as far as all of that is concerned. And a lot of it is going to also play into kind of this culture war that we're starting to see brew across the board, right? Like, if you guys aren't familiar, we have essentially big tech vying for control over speech to a certain extent. We have the government, as we saw with, basically Mark Zuckerberg admitting on Joe Rogan that the FBI had come to Facebook to, persuade speech. We have basically what's going on is a bunch of manipulation of data and information. You can pick a side, you cannot pick a side. because it doesn't actually matter. The idea here is that we end up in a position where there is this battle going on that's playing out, and we need to see basically why that's happening and what that influences within crypto. Because if we're talking about the most recent purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is of course Dogecoin. And for whatever reason, because of the Musk effect on Dogecoin, anything that Musk does influences the price of Dogecoin. We've seen a huge pump in Dogecoin starting yesterday. It's continued through to today. And that is also as Elon Musk's first move, it basically was to fire at least 4 top executives at Twitter, including CEO Parag Agrawal. There we go. And let's see. So Ethereum fired. Elon Musk fired at least top 4 Twitter executives on Thursday as part of his first move after officially becoming Twitter's owner. According to sources familiar with the matter, the executives fired included CEO Parag Agrawal, Chief Financial Officer Ned Siegel, and top legal and priority executive Vija. I swear I just heard somebody say the name and then I forgot how to say it. She was the one that actually decided to ban Trump, by the way, as well. And General Counsel Sean Edgett. Why does this matter right at the end of the day? Like I said, you can join whatever side you want to join. The point is that we are seeing essentially this kind of fight going on between essentially whatever side, the culture war, right? Whether or not you think, Trump should have freedom of speech on Twitter and have access to the public or not. This is kind of where that is playing out. That's why we see like Twitter, make Twitter orange again, that sort of stuff. My humble opinion, if you want it, I don't think you restrict the speech of anybody at all, ever, in any circumstances, especially a former president of the United States. If he says something indemnifying, then I want the public to know about it, the entire public, because then he needs to be held accountable for it. Right? You can't hold people accountable if they can't say what they really think in the first place. Okay? And this is just, it's absolute ridiculousness that we would ban essentially a former president of the United States from being able to speak on any sort of platform. That's my humble opinion. I think that goes the same for Kanye, right? Yay. As long as there's no direct outcry of violence towards another human being. I also am against doxing. I'll say that. As long as there's none of that sort of stuff, in my humble opinion, we should be able to see it all. Why? Because I want the entire public to see it, and I want us to make informed decisions. All that happens when you ban people is you create little pockets of radicalism. That's all that ends up happening. And you take somebody like Kanye, for example, here most recently, and you can look at him become more and more radicalized as the pressures clamp down on him more and more, right? You're not helping him. You could see in the Lex Fridman podcast, which was just wild to watch, that he trusts nobody. And to a certain extent, you can understand why he would trust nobody. So I think just to put that to rest as far as it goes, I think Kanye is a perfect example of how you radicalize somebody by trying to silence certain individuals and not let the word get out, not let people state their opinions and proper, arguments to the contrary. 1 second. We could always get into the argument of a private platform can ban and do whatever they want. And that's true. I think that that's been taken very, very far by the liberal agenda. I think that we are moving into a digital age that requires the shifting of rules in general. That's what I think. I think that it would be amiss to just give all the power to the companies, but I know that the liberal left, who used to be pro free speech and anti big corporations, is now pro big corporations as long as it aligns with their side. I don't think that's the way to go. Personally, I think that we need to shift and make sure that people have access. I think the ultimate access to speech is moving away from centralized platforms as a whole. Yes, I mean moving off of YouTube. Yay, let's go and get ahead and get more suppressed best as we go on, and moving on to platforms like Library. Yes, Rumble is an option, but Rumble is owned by an entity, meaning that you still have to put trust in a single entity. Decentralization is the ultimate goal that we move towards over across all of this, where the actual keys, the public keys and the private keys are in the hands of, well, the public. And once you get to that point, then we don't really have to worry about a private platform. I, as an individual on my channel and my particular YouTube chat, etc., will be able to ban people that maybe get out of line compared for our particular community. And you within your particular community can make those decisions too as an individual. But having a big corporation that oversees everything, doing that for everybody, is the problem that we run into with the current status of social media and big tech. And I think it will change. Inevitably it does, right? Inevitably, the thing is right now what you're going to see on Twitter is you're going to see everybody on the left start to leave Twitter. They're going to try to start their own new platforms. They're going to have the protests. That'll all happen and blah, blah, blah. What I hope it ends up moving into is them clicking over and saying, oh yeah, I want to support decentralized, right? That's the move that we want to see. Because previously what we were seeing, right, is basically Twitter making decisions to ban individuals that didn't agree with them, right? And those individuals moved to new platforms. Those individuals started moving towards decentralization. So now the ultimate goal, one sec. I still have bronchitis. So the ultimate goal, and here's where I think it happens. Balaji on the Lex Friedman podcast talked about this, and this is very important. It will no longer be left and right. It's a little too much. It will no longer be left and right. It will be centralization versus decentralization, because what you are going to see now is that the people that disagree with Musk and his policy will leave Twitter, a centralized platform owned by a single entity, and they will start to see the light being decentralization. So now what we end up having is we will have basically both the sides come together as far as the people are concerned, left and right, under the umbrella of decentralization, in protest to large corporations and centralized entities controlling their speech. That is the ultimate goal, and that is where I think we move to, and that is all inclusive. So when we make these distinctions between, well, the left did this or the right did that, blah, 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 no, that's not the actual argument. The argument is eventually, because the left did this to the right and the right did this to the left, and it was actually just some big entity of big tech or a big tech mogul like Elon Musk, you end up having these people move into the light and seeing the light of decentralization. That's how I see it moving forward in the future. Hopefully. I think it'll take quite some time. And we'll just go ahead and put you in timeout. Boom. All right, there you go. Musk, who wanted to walk away from his initial offer to purchase Twitter for $44 billion, made a U-turn on the offer in October. Musk shared a video of his entrance at the headquarters this week and met with workers while having impromptu conversations with them, Insider reported. His acquisition of the social media platform sparked concerns among employees. One shared with Insider what it was like before Musk reached the deadline to close the deal. Now, in response to this, it is clear that crypto is bullish on this purchase, not just Dogecoin like we've seen. But Binance's CZ confirms participating as equity investor in Musk's Twitter takeover. ZIL said Binance had wired some $500 million 2 days ago as part of the move. Binance confirmed on Friday that it was as an equity investor in billionaire technology entrepreneur Elon Musk's takeover of microblogging service Twitter. Quote, "We're excited to be able to help Elon realize a new vision of Twitter." End quote. Binance founder Changpeng Zhao said in an email statement, "We aim to play a role in bringing social media and Web3 together in order to broaden the use and adoption of crypto and blockchain technology." CZ said in a tweet that Binance had wired some $500 million as part of the deal 2 days ago. Twitter did not immediately respond to CoinDesk's request for comment. In May, CZ reverted to the $500 million commitment as a small contribution to the cause in a tweet after news of the takeover first emerged. CZ added the time that a priority should be to reduce spam and scams on the platform. Quote, our initial commitment remains the same and we look forward to exploring opportunities to grow the partnership in the future, a Binance spokesperson said. Now, obviously, the takeover by Elon Musk of Twitter as it pertains to cryptocurrency is bullish across the board, right? That's what we're seeing. The interesting part here coming from CZ is the commitment of this 500 million going towards a reduction of scams on the platform. And as we've seen, like one of the biggest questions that Musk had surrounding Twitter was the amount of bots on the platform, like the true actual amount of real people and how to mitigate these bots, right? And I think that obviously when you are participating in cryptocurrency on Twitter, you're worried about a few things, right? Most of the time, especially if you're talking about a Bitcoin maximalist and most everybody else in crypto, you're going to have some sort of slightly independent bent viewpoint as far as that goes. And then that'll probably be tied into some sort of free speech movement, as well as like maybe we could go even so far into like seed oils if we want to get really extreme maximalist. But the other thing that is there is basically trying to avoid scams and the amount of reply bots that are happening. I really like this push from CZ and this commitment towards it with the goal of removing spams and such. As you guys can see in the bottom of my YouTube channel on the comments, we get tons of scams. This AMZ crap is absolutely frustrating. I spend so much time trying to delete them and it's a never-ending process. Yes, I run the little bots that scan for me and I like remove what I can, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. And hopefully Twitter gets better about this with the takeover. That is one light at the end of the tunnel that we could see from it. And there's more light at the end of the tunnel because we are starting to talk about the next halving. Now, the next halving for Bitcoin isn't going to be happening until, of course, 2024, more than likely around December. The halving, for the uninitiated, is the reduction of the block reward paid out to miners for solving a block. A block is a list of transactions that have been submitted to a Bitcoin node for processing. That's the best, easiest way to explain it right now without getting into much more technical detail. Now, a miner being paid off of this, having their reward cut in half, obviously basically increases their cost to produce a single Bitcoin. So because of the increase of cost to produce a single Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin usually goes up a certain amount in relation to that. So this is what we call the halving cycle. And this halving cycle, of course, is extremely important to the pricing of Bitcoin because every 4 years when Bitcoin halves, we see the price go up. And once the price goes up, usually retail takes notice, actually not even paying attention to the halving cycle and starts FOMOing in, which actually pushes the price of Bitcoin way above where it should actually be, which would be the actual cost of minting the Bitcoin. Interestingly enough, this seems to continue to happen over and over again since the inception of Bitcoin. Now, CoinDesk has said Bitcoin could rally to 63K ahead of the next mining reward halving. Now, if we were to purely, and this isn't financial advice, but if we were to purely base off the halving cycle, where Bitcoin would be after the next halving, it would be at $210,000. And then for the next cycle, bear cycle, which would be around 2026, we would see it come back down to 60,000. This is kind of where we've seen Bitcoin move. We always see the halving happen, Bitcoin go up basically to about 300% of the previous all-time high, something along those lines. Then it comes back down to the previous all-time high for the bear market. Then it goes back up. Not financial advice once again, just kind of a general overview. Bitcoin tends to bottom out and start rallying 15 months ahead of the halving, past data shows. And this is where things get a little interesting because we start to see here, essentially a pattern for us to not necessarily be making bull run money for cryptocurrency mining, but we start to see revenues slowly return. The question is this time, because as I talked to Hivon at the mining conference and a few other Bitcoin miners as well, is that we ended up in a position where miners are not selling, right? There's not a huge capitulation. We're kind of sitting, especially on the GPU side, in a position where a lot of miners had their equipment paid off and just turned the rigs off. And they're waiting for the next cycle because miners are aware of the cycle. Luckily, on the Bitcoin side of things, we are starting to see that some people, big miners, expanded too far. Most recently, like we saw with Soars yesterday, getting ready to file for bankruptcy. And that's going to alleviate some of it, because what ends up happening in this cycle for cryptocurrency mining in general is that you have to have some people fail. Right? This is the way the story goes. It's been going like this since the inception of Bitcoin. And unfortunately, it's the way it will always end up going, is that you have to have the people that get greedy in the bull run and borrow way too much money and crash out and have to sell everything off at a loss. This is the way it gets handled, unfortunately. You don't want to, see people fail. It's a very tough thing, but this is why when we talk about purchasing mining equipment and so on, you don't want to spend more than you can lose. You don't want to buy anything on credit. I've never bought any mining equipment on credit. My biggest mistake that I ever made was actually renting a facility because that is basically a credit line at the end of the day. That's a liability that I shouldn't have done. That's my biggest mistake, and I let you guys know about that. But when we get into it, that's why in mining, I approach it from this perspective. You buy with cash where you can, and then you hodl that silicon until it comes to the point to where other people are shaken out of the market. The thing is right now we're in a weird position where the market has not shaken out a lot of the miners, especially on the GPU side. And this data is the data that I'm getting from HiveOS, meaning that HiveOS is basically telling me, or what I understand, is that these rigs have just been turned off. They have not been sold. We're not seeing a ton on the market. The only thing we've really seen on the market is like previous gen stuff, like the 5000 series. Yes, we could say the 3070's down to like 450, something along those lines, but it should be technically much lower at this point, and we should see a lot more hitting the market. Now, that could still be coming. I think, like we've talked about before, November and December are going to be the times to be looking for this as people sell off, especially home miners, sell off some of their equipment for holiday costs. Yes, it's not very fun to capitalize on somebody selling stuff for holiday costs, but that is the nature of the beast, right? So these are things that you could be looking out for right now if you do have some capital set aside to invest. Obviously not financial advice. These are just the opportunities that bounce around in my head when I'm thinking about it. Now, it says, quote, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful," end quote. That's legendary investor Warren Buffett. Perhaps now is the time to be greedy in the crypto market, as the battered Bitcoin could soon find relief and rally to $63,000 by March of 2024, when the cryptocurrency is likely to undergo a mining reward halving, because it is getting accelerated as more hash rate goes onto the network. But it'll slow down again, by the way, when we get to, of course, the summer for the Western side of things, right? When the cryptocurrency is likely to undergo that halving, a programmed code aimed at reducing the pay is a program. Here we go. We got this. Is a programmed code aimed at reducing the pace of supply expansion by 50% every 4 years. We already talked about that. That's the latest forecast from Marcus Thielen, head of research and strategy at crypto services provider Matrixport, which has $10 billion in assets under management. The positive prediction is based on the assumption that Bitcoin will repeat the bullish price action seen in the lead up to the July 2016 and the April 2020 halvings. On both occasions, Bitcoin rallied into bullish wins 15 months ahead of the halving, and in the halving month traded to 39% higher from where it changed hands 2 years ago. So if history is a guide, Bitcoin could see a change of fortune starting next month and rise to 63,000 by March of 2024 to trade 39% higher than the March 22 price of 45,538. Prices started to rally 15 months before the next halving, November of 2022, and they tend to finish 39% from where they traded 24 months prior. This would imply that Bitcoin trades around $63,000 by March of 2024, Thielen wrote in the latest edition of the Matrix on Target note. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. That said, history often rhymes and the macro outlook could improve in the coming months. Federal Reserve officials recently hinted at slower pace of monetary tightening from December. Besides, there are signs of China softening its stance on crypto, according to Thielen. The timing of Hong Kong potentially legalizing retail crypto trading in order to become a crypto hub right after China's Party Congress, which is held only twice every decade, signals that China is changing its stance towards crypto, Thielen noted. Russia has also changed its stance in the light of the economic sanctions. President Vladimir Putin and China are seeking an alternate to the USD system, together with Saudi Arabia, which desires to join the BRICS nations and is keenly interested in upgrading their economy into Web3. A new multi-year crypto bull market might be starting, Thielen added. I would also like to add to that you need to pay attention to the proxy hash wars that we talked about yesterday with Russia and Kazakhstan, where Russia is essentially bolstering the power grid and investing in the power grid of Kazakhstan in return for Bitcoin mining hash power. This is going to be extremely relevant, especially as we start to see not only what we have, which is essentially a decentralization of reserve currencies. So this is kind of something, this is an idea that like a lot of people have talked about in the past, where you see not full decentralization, because that's never where we'll end up getting, but a kind of a wrench in the gears of centralization that breaks things apart a little bit more. Right now, as it sits globally, the USD is the only reserve currency. A reserve currency means that people move into that currency essentially for primary trade. And this is due to the fact that Saudi Arabia accepts US dollar for oil. So the things that are changing here coming up, like we've talked about in the past, is BRICS. Now, BRICS is going to be set up as another reserve currency, and the partnership there is China and Russia, and there is talks of course, Saudi Arabia participating in that. Combine that with the possibility of 20% of the oil being purchasable with yuan, which we talked about earlier this year as well, and you have a position where you have a wrench thrown into the gears of the USD or the US dollar as a reserve currency. At the end of the day, this could end up actually playing out good in cryptocurrency's favor, because you end up bolstering, of course, the possibility of crypto being a reserve currency that is for the people and not for the nation states. But initially, it's going to be a very bumpy ride. These are just things that I look at, though, as we move towards it. And I think it's, to a certain extent, inevitable. It does mean that, of course, Western nations are going to suffer economically, but probably on a global scale, that's going to happen no matter what here too for a little bit as the world recovers from all of the recent events. Bitcoin has seen 3 reward halvings to date. Prices soared from 8,800 to 69,000 in 18 months, following a third halving dated May 12th of 2020. The fourth halving was initially slated to happen in May of 2024. However, with the hash rate of computing power dedicated to mining blocks surging during the bear market, the reward halving is now expected to take place in March of 2024. After the event, the per block reward paid to miners will drop from 6.25 BTC to 3.12 BTC, bringing the cryptocurrency's inflation rate down to 1.1%. Bitcoin miners solve complex algorithmic problems to mine blocks and verify transactions in return for rewards paid in BTC. The cryptocurrency's fixed monetary policy of having supply expansion every 4 years contrasts with the ever-increasing fiat money supply. That has motivated many, including business intelligence firm MicroStrategy, to adopt Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Now, in my humble opinion, a reserve asset makes a lot of sense for Bitcoin, but we still need a transactional asset. And I think that you can have multiple different cryptocurrencies that serve different purposes within the scene, in the space. So I've never been a full-on Bitcoin maximalist. Yes, I think that Lightning Network does wonders for transactions, but we are still utilizing a currency that essentially is deflationary at the end of the day. Yes, not till 2140 or whatever it may be when the final Bitcoin is mined, but at the end of the day, it ends up being capped, right? The difference to that is that if we want to basically stay on pace with something like the US dollar and have something that's transactional and inflationary, well, Dogecoin is there. And I think it's really interesting. Not to mention that from the mining perspective, if we're really looking at the most profitable endeavor right now, script mining seems to be the best, both because the miners are mining Dogecoin, which is seeing some really nice returns, but it can merge mine other coins, meaning if you buy one miner, you can mine 2 coins with that single miner. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Really wish I would have made some more shift into more Litecoin and basically script miners earlier on last year, but unfortunately I missed the boat on that, and hopefully I don't continue to miss the boat on that. I talk about hodling silicon in the past. I still stand by that. We are seeing huge shifts. Here recently, we just had Vladimir Putin announce that he considers Taiwan to be a part of China. This is going to be difficult for the manufacturing of silicon, and we need to pay extremely close attention to it, especially in the West, because we don't have US semiconductor industry up and ready. And TSMC is saying efforts to rebuild the US semiconductor industry are doomed to fail, which is not sounding good. Apple supplier TSMC believes that the U.S. efforts to rebuild chip manufacturing at home are doomed to fail as it finds itself caught between China and the United States in a tech Cold War. This is extremely important, okay? Obviously, we saw Nancy Pelosi visit Taiwan. This has been something that's been brewing in the background. This impacts literally every single portion of your day and life, because we are in a digital world right now. It powers everything you do. All of this technology is going to be way more important than almost anything else. We could talk about a nuclear Cold War, but if a nuclear bomb goes off, the end of the world happens and you're done. If a tech Cold War is going on, what you end up having is basically oppressed people that have to suffer through an entire existence. So this is kind of the differences between them, right? As far as like from a top-down observational view. Morris Chang founded TSMC in 1987 when Taiwan recruited him from the US to help build an electronics industry. The contract manufacturer rose to become the top chip maker in the world, commanding 20% of the global wafer fabrication and 92% of advanced chip capacity. U.S. share in global chip manufacturing shrunk from 37% in 1990 to 12% in 2020. But the country wants to regain its dominance. In particular, U.S. Department of Defense is worried that the country's dependence on Taiwan could put chip supplies for the defense industry at risk. Now, in general, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding was that anything that was used for the military had to be built stateside. So I thought that was covered for the most part. However, I think that you still have obviously like a potential for shortages, and on the private sector it's still important too. Obviously, we've talked about Intel building up their new semiconductor facilities here stateside, but they got a long way to go. And I think part of this is TSMC. Basically, it kind of seems like TSMC has some sort of outcry for help from the US or from the West, right? It sounds like they're saying, hey guys, we see that you're not going to be able to do this in time, and we need some protection from China. But that's a huge risk, right? Especially right now, you know, the US is already fighting a proxy war through Ukraine. We're going to fight hash rate proxy wars through Kazakhstan. And then we're going to have a whole new front of this tech Cold War through China and Taiwan, or through Taiwan, right? And it's too many battles on too many fronts to do anyone successfully, in my humble opinion. Now, the place where the U.S. and the Western world could accomplish something here, like in my humble opinion, which obviously we realize that this is going to take some time, is by having private companies take the reins. And that could at least help on the Taiwan side of things. But like we said, Intel's kind of far behind as far as that is considered. So in response, President Biden signed the CHIPS Act into law on August 9th of 2022. It provides over $52 billion to help U.S. companies build new semiconductor facilities, fund research, and expand existing manufacturing. I think that obviously like that's going to be needed to be done, but will it happen fast enough? Taiwan isn't happy about the move because it sees semiconductor dominance as a silicon shield. The government believes that if China were to attack the country, the US would come to its aid to prevent China from seizing the industry. When U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August, she met with Morris Chang and Mark Liu, chair of TSMC. Chang told Pelosi that Washington's efforts to rebuild its chip manufacturing were doomed to fail, according to Taiwan's Financial Times. But the United States may not have much choice. Analysts at investment bank Credit Suisse, which we talked about yesterday on the Twitch channel, and that'll be linked tomorrow. Basically, the idea is inevitably banks don't exist at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter where we go with the digital transformation, whether we go fully centralized or decentralized, banks end up being obsoleted at the end of the day, in my humble opinion. Now, that's going to be way off down the line, but, and not financial advice, but they are playing a big role right now in pretty much every single part. Pay attention to this name because they're playing a big role right now in every single part of what's happening with this digital transformation. So they have estimated if the world loses access to Taiwan's chip plants, it will disrupt the production for everything from computers to cars. Well, obviously. Apple would be impacted too, as it relies heavily on TSMC for chip production. While it has expanded some of its manufacturing to other countries such as Vietnam and India, those moves do not diversify Apple chips supply at all. Still, TSMC remains a major supplier for Apple and other companies, and its future between the US and China is uncertain. Quote, the monopoly in semiconductor production creates instability, end quote, said Brad Martin, director of the National Security Supply Chain Institute at RAND Corporation. Quote, if the US is faced with a need to make a decision between protecting its economy and defending Taiwan, that starts to become a very stark decision. And I think that's the decision we end up seeing here in the near future, because it's very clear that now we have essentially Russia backing China's statement that they control Taiwan. China wants to take control of Taiwan specifically because of the semiconductor manufacturing. That is just, it's plain as day. You can see it. You don't have to be on a political side to understand what's going on here. It's very clear. I don't see any other obvious anything else that is quite as obvious as what's going on here, right? Which is essentially just China taking over semiconductor manufacturing by taking control of Taiwan. And if that happens, the U.S. is not ready to produce semiconductors at any significant level stateside. And I think the entire Western world will struggle with chip shortages, which will clearly put us at a disadvantage when we are talking about, and I say us as the Western world, when we are talking about transforming through this digital age. And if you compound that with the fact that we are starting to see these hash rate proxy wars with Russia, we start to see the reserve currencies break apart and decentralize between BRICS and the yuan, and basically the devaluing of the US dollar as a result of that, possibly, we can be in a very sketchy position here in the near future. And we should be extremely cognizant of that and pay attention. Now, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 with 8 gigabytes of memory is released. I don't have one yet. Let me know if you guys got one. My prediction is it's not going to be very exciting because it's a 128-bit memory bus. Womp womp. I think, actually, let's go ahead and check this and make sure I have this correct, because I thought I think I stuck my foot in my mouth. Let me look at this real quick. RTX 3060 specs. Let's look at the old specs if we can get to them. Specs, full specs. The 3060 currently has Well, what? The full you don't show me the full specs? Yeah, so yeah, it's a downgrade. So as of now, we have released from a 192-bit bus to a 128-bit bus. My mining performance predictions are going to be pretty much trash on this particular GPU. NVIDIA is rolling out its latest 30 series update just days after ASUS announced its RTX 3060 Ti GDDR6X, which, by the way, so two things happening here. We have the 3060 getting downgraded from 192-bit bus to 128-bit bus. But on the flip side, we're getting a 3060 Ti with GDDR6X, which is the faster memory. Of course, the GDDR6X does run hotter, but here's where it gets interesting. The 3060 Ti with the GDDR6X is going to have less memory modules than we saw on a 3070 Ti, which means that you may see better temperature control, but faster memory speeds and better power consumption. So if we're looking at the difference between an RTX 3060 128-bit, which is just released, versus the RTX 3060 Ti upgrade to GDDR6X, and we're considering this for mining, specifically GPU mining, I'm going to lean towards the 3060 Ti GDDR6X as being the most interesting one. Of course, that one's not out yet. If you'd like to purchase a 3060 with 128-bit bus, well, I guess you like skinny girls and you're weird. All right. AMD Radeon RX 7900 series rumored to launch in early December. Gray Moon previously reported that the launch product availability of the RX 7000 series should be expected to be around November 27th. It's now said that this date has been pushed back by a week. This means that the new Radeon series could end up launching in December. One should note, however, that this is not technically a delay because AMD never communicated the release date. It is also worth reminding that the official unveiled date has not changed. Official introduction of AMD's RX 7000 series is still planned for November 3rd. In fact, AMD has been very vocal about this event, so the company is clearly very eager to show us the new cards as soon as possible. As long as rumors are concerned, product launches either in late November or early December, and that's coming from Gray Moon 55, who says December 1st through 5th, and he's been pretty reliable as far as leakers go. In retrospect, even with the rumored December launch, it is still not as long as NVIDIA wants their fans to wait for the RTX 4080. The company introduced its RTX 40 series on September 20th, but the new card is not coming sooner than November 16th. Similarly, the RX 6900 XT announced on October 8th, 2020 was not released until December 8th the same year. When it comes to the product names, there is another confirmation on the XTX variant, which we talked about yesterday. Please check out the video and show from yesterday for that. This picture post and quickly removed by one of the editors seems to corroborate the top XTX part. So instead of 7950 XT, we'll have a 7900 XTX. And that's actually coming from the old ATI days and naming conventions. As far as the releases of these go, I am bullish on AMD this time around. Radeon, I think you guys are very aware of this. The reason being, of course, is on the top end here, we're getting 384-bit bus of the faster 20 gigabit per second GDDR6, which means we'll have presumably better temperatures and 960 gigabytes of bandwidth, meaning that, yeah, the AMD GPUs here at the top end are going to be swinging punches on the memory intensive side with, of course, the 3090, the 3090 Ti, and the 4090, but will presumably not have the heat issues that all of those aforementioned cards have. So definitely bullish on Radeon for GPU mining from a performance perspective, and I look forward to being able to get my hands on these. And even better, the low-end model is still getting a 320-bit bus, which will give us 800 gigabytes per second, which is still going to be better than, like, it's going to be up there above like the RTX 3080. So these are really cool cards. I can't wait to get them and check them out. I still haven't picked up a 4090 because, you know, obviously that would be my entire paycheck for the month. So I can't afford that, but that is what it is. Let's talk about Gminer and some miner releases right after a word from today's sponsor. Then we'll get into, of course, the mining profitability for the day. So make sure you check out the link down below and we'll get this running.
Established in 2017, Octominer is an international mining hardware company. They manufacture and engineer the best mining equipment in the industry and supply rigs to some of the largest mining farms around the world. Their GPU mining rigs also integrate with the top crypto operating systems like HiveOS, MinerStat, and Simple Mining. All parts come with an international 1-year warranty. Exciting news! They will be adding ASIC miners for sale to their website soon and launching a new product built specifically for ASIC home miners. Please visit octominer.com or email support@octominer.com for questions.
All right, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I want to thank you guys for the support. Remember, you have to be the notification here. We are going to get suppressed, and yes, we are going to talk politics as it relates to cryptocurrency because that's what we got to do. I'm going to stand by that, and there's not going to be any apologies coming from this channel anymore. It's the way it is. I understand if you agree. I'm good with discourse, and we can always agree or disagree. That's fine. I love discourse. You can always comment in the channel and comment down below. But if you say don't talk about politics, is an immediate ban. That's it. All right? That's the way it's going to be. Banned, blocked. You can talk about politics. You can say you disagree with me. You can't tell me to not talk about politics. Okay? Okay. Capiche. Got it. Let's talk about Gminer release 3.12. Added Kakatu 32 algorithm, which is interesting. Grin 32. They added VDS, which is the Voller algorithm. This is a new one that I haven't heard of. And they fixed a display of difficulty for Equihash algorithms. So after this show, we're going to be over on Twitch for a little bit, of course. And we're going to be doing our community game day, Modern Warfare 2. I hope to see you guys over there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be utilizing my TeamSpeak channel and hopefully getting as many people in. And we're going to be playing all night, trying to get leveled up and just having fun talking crypto. But we're also, before we get into that, going to take a look at what is VDS and the Voller algorithm, because this is a new one that I want to pay attention to. Now, that's the only miner release for today. So we're pretty much done as far as that's concerned. Let's talk about what I've been mining. I only have 2 rigs running. My RX 6000 series rig for testing and my RTX 3000 series rig for testing. I've shut everything else down. We were mining, like I talked about before, a spec coin that you can find out about on sonofatech.locals.com. You can check the pinned comment either in the description or within the live chat at the top of the channel. And here's the deal. I'm mining pink coin still with my RX 6000 series GPUs, and they're fine. It's not making any money. Look, pink coin is like worth essentially nothing. You earn essentially nothing. So a total of it, we did 1.5 pink coin over the past 24 hours with a single RX 6000 series rig. And frankly, that's worth like 0.5 of a penny, 0.7 of a penny, right? Pink chain is dead on arrival. Highly recommend avoiding it at this point unless something else is going on that I'm not aware of. We did want to mine it just to see, but I don't think that's really the way to go. Now, huge improvements with the new Mini Z. We had Mini Z, obviously we had LOL Miner release 1.61, which significantly improved hash rates for Flux. And then we had just basically, we're going into hash wars. This is really cool. We got really good miner developer updates coming out one after another, vying for control over these new coins. And we had Mini Z come out with 1.9 Z4, and that released, and we tested it yesterday on the Twitch channel. There's a clip over on the Blind Run channel if you want to check out each individual improvement on the 30 series. We tested it across all those cards. It is currently mining. So I did leave that up mining Flux. So that's why it is mining Flux. It's on the solo pool, so it hasn't made anything, but we're at like 583 solutions a second. I don't know. We'll see if we hit a solo block or whatever as far as that's concerned. I highly doubt it, but it's currently what it's doing. We'll go, well, hey, solo all day, baby. It's the bear market. Nothing's profitable. We're running the rigs to test and hopefully find stuff. It's spec mine or solo mine, boys. That's where I'm at. Where are you at? I'm wondering, are you spec mining, solo mining, taking a chance? I'm solo mining with some Bitcoin too. Playing that big lotto. We hit that 100K paycheck. Well, I guess we would be able to eat, which would be good. Eating's good. You know what I mean? So let's look at what to mine. We peg this every day. We got corrected hash rates for the RTX 3090. We got ZEL hash at 110 solutions a second. We got Kapow at 55. We got ProgPal at 55 and Firo at 55. And we had 5 cents a kilowatt hour because we were testing stuff yesterday. You can be profitable at 5 cents. At 10 cents a kilowatt hour, everything goes unprofitable. You lose the least amount right now, apparently, on Conceal at losing 23 cents a day. You lose 24 cents a day on Cero. You lose 27 cents a day on Equilibria. Really scrolling down here, Vertcoin, 27 cents a day loss after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Ergo, losing 30 cents a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Scroll down from there. Meowcoin still losing at 33 cents a kilowatt hour. Neoxa is losing. Ravencoin's losing. It's all losing. It gets real bad when you go down to Ethereum Classic at 43 cents a day after power loss. Actually losing out to ETHW right now, interestingly enough. It'd be interesting if we see some ASICs move over to ETHW. It would be amiss to say that, you know, to ignore ETHW right now, I think. So definitely pay attention to that. I was trying to look up yesterday some stablecoin stuff that's getting released over there that you might want to pay attention to as well. Ergo is still a platform you definitely want to pay attention to too, as they release more stuff. Ergo script is awesome. I started playing with that a little bit more. But let's talk about mining pools and mining pool hash rates, or mining hash rates in general. Bitcoin is up 7%, almost 8% over the past week, and we are at 268 exahash a second. No real change, really. Kind of been sitting at that for a while. But let's go ahead and look at these ETH coins. ETC is up 18% over the past 7 days. Pretty nice pump. Still sitting around 150 terahash a second. Over the past week, I think like maybe 2 weeks ago, we were at 160 terahash a second. So we have seen some hash rate drop off of Ethereum Classic, but we are seeing a nice pump. It's not really enough to make it profitable for the home miner yet, but that is where we're at. Now, ETHW also had a pump of over the past 7 days of 15.87%, almost 16%. The hash rate did drop overnight. Yesterday, we were up a little bit higher, I believe. Yeah, around like 37. We dropped a few terahash off of the network as well. For whatever reason. So it's sitting at 34.98 terahash. Then we have Ethereum Fair. This is going to be Justin Sun's version fork. It is actually up today for the past 7 days over at 6%. I'd say that's minuscule following market trends. I would not say that's indicative of the coin performing well. I think you need to be well over 15% over the past 7 days to actually be performing well. Just to be clear with you guys on that. Let's go ahead and look at some of the more fun ones. We got Flux here. And Flux is at 7.9 mega solutions a second and up 7.32% over the past 7 days. Once again, I don't think that pump is good enough over the past 7 days. And the difficulties really spiked up here over the past 6 months. And Flux has been sitting right around 8 mega solutions for a while. It's pretty stable though, which is good news. So there is that as far as Flux is concerned. Unfortunately, with the home miner and our average 10 cents a kilowatt hour, it's still obviously not profitable. The next big daddy, of course, is Ergo. And it is actually down 2.58% over the past 7 days. It is dropped back under $2 per. And it has also dropped some hash rate down to 48 terahash a second. It is nice, you know, since the EIP 37 that they have, for the most part, mitigated a majority of the difficulty adjustment issues that they had. Unfortunately, they had to follow that up with the worst move in cryptocurrency history by accepting a Twitter account that was for Ethereum Classic from Charles Hoskinson in probably the most disappointing move in cryptocurrency proof of work GPU mining that I've ever seen. And I still can't believe that happened. And there's a complete cognitive dissonance of it being okay. There's no world in which that's okay. Just wow. And I think that public perception is also hurting it a lot to a certain extent. And that's why we see a majority of, you know, these coins going up today, except for ERG. Like ERG should be going up. So is this a public perception? Maybe, because like it's weird to me that we are seeing improvements on the Ergo side as far as the difficulty adjustment's been improved. We're seeing, you know, Launchpad coming from Padilla. We're seeing good projects get launched on Ergo, but we're not seeing a good price movement, and we're not seeing a lot of confidence in the actual project. And I think you lose a lot of confidence and you lose a lot of public trust when you make moves like that. And I think that we're starting, I think that that is where we're at. I hope that that gets resolved. I really hope that, I really hope that, I wish that they would just give it back, but you know, who knows how that goes down. And I wish they would just clean their hands of it and move on. But you know, if they're going to continue to double down, we're going to have to continue to make people aware. Why do we have to make people aware? Well, having an account that has 600,000 followers that were not earned by the attention of the actual coin itself is basically deceptive to the potential investors, right? Somebody goes up, they Google Ergo, they find an account with 600K followers. They think that obviously like Ergo has that amount of followers and that amount of interest, and it's disingenuous and basically a lie to the public. So I have to state that that is the case so that new people that are watching the channel understand that Ergo is not at the adoption rate that they appear to be on their Twitter account. Okay. And that's just facts. Okay. That's it. And I'm sorry, that's where it sits. They are not at that adoption rate that they appear. And the problem is if you get people that go in and they see the 600K, then maybe they purchase some Ergo, then they do some more research, and then they find out about basically this kind of deception. What are they going to be more inclined to do? Sell that back off, because they're going to be like, something sketchy here is going on, right? It's not good for the project. It's absolutely insane that anybody ever thought that that was a good idea. Ravencoin is at 15.83 terahash a second and is up only 2.32% over the past 7 days. You would expect, like I said, for good pumps over the past 7 days, over 17%. So I wouldn't call it a good pump, but it is following market trends at this time. Neoxa is important to pay attention to because we do have the RP server coming out, I believe, in the next 24 hours for GTA 5. Not good timing, by the way, because Modern Warfare 2 opening weekend. Hey guys at Neoxa, what are you doing? Release that next weekend. Bro, come on. You probably have to release it come on, man. Modern Warfare 2 came out. I'm not going to go play a 30-year-old game in GTA 5. I'm interested in the project. I'm just saying. But that is bullish moves, of course, for Neoxa. We're at 6.8% over the past 7 days. I would expect more. That's just basically following market trend, like we said. And we did have a little bit of a dip off of hash rate over the past 7 days from about 2 terahash a second to 1.39 terahash a second. And then finally, one of my favorites is going to be Caspa. Rocking the Caspa. We got Caspa here that's gone down, back down. We were talking about this earlier. It does look like, we're a little amiss. We wouldn't talk about the elephant in the room, which is FPGAs on Caspa. Caspa is not going to be a GPU mineable coin. It was never intended to be a GPU mineable coin for its life cycle. And the only reason you GPU mine Caspa is to help get it to its next phase, which is going to be FPGAs. FPGAs are starting to get turned onto the network, and that is why you see a significant increase in the hash rate on it. This is fully expected, and I wouldn't expect it to go any other direction. Eventually, if there is opportunity for people to build ASICs and there's enough of a market there for ASICs, ASICs will be built for the network. And the ultimate goal will be optical proof of work, which is basically laser mining rigs. And that was the goal from the very get-go because it's heavy hash. So when, just to address some of the people in the comments from yesterday about Caspa, yes, I'm aware that it's FPGA. We've been aware of that. That is the natural progression and what was fully expected from the get-go, right? Not dissimilar from, of course, a Bitcoin, where you mine with the CPU, then you mine with the GPU, then you mine with the FPGA, then they didn't have FPGA for that in particular, but you mine with the ASIC and then you move on. We will always have this step, I think, in between for these coins that are like, essentially core heavy, going through an FPGA first. So I think like that needs to be basically at this point, it's pretty clear to me, like from my humble opinion, where I'm at is I would like to get an FPGA to put on Caspa personally, but I don't have one, and I won't mine with GPUs on it. And I'm happy with the bag that I got while I got it. And I'm going to ride out my bag on Caspa until the next bull run. And that's where I sit, and I think there will be good adoption because they are moving over to Rust from Go language, which is a fantastic freaking move. And on top of that, they have some of the best transaction per second out on proof of work, and it's only going to get better with the move to Rust. So I'm very bullish on Caspa, but of course that's not financial advice. And as far as GPU mining for Caspa, not bullish on it at all. Okay. That's kind of where I sit. Let's take a look at ASIC miner profitability as we move through all of this. And we have the Antminer L7 at about $18.39 a day on mining rig rentals. Really, real is going to be probably around $17.67 a day. It is up. It is nice because, of course, we have that Dogecoin pump thanks to Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter. Then we got the Antminer D7 sitting at around $4.91 a day on Dash. I tend to ignore mining rig rentals in this particular case. I also ignore it usually on the L7. I will take NiceHash into account because it's more accurate. Mining rig rentals is very weird. I don't find it actually, ever paying out near as much as what they show here on this particular one. But we have the iPolo G1, which is probably the most enticing one in the list, in my humble opinion, outside of the L7, because its top estimated daily profit does come directly from the coin that you intend to mine with it, which is the Grin coin, and that's KUKA232. Now, we talked about the added support, of course, earlier on Gminer for KUKA232, Grin 32 algorithm. GPU mining support is there. Are you going to be competitive when you got iPolo G1s on the network? Probably not, but, there is the GPU mineable option out there for Grin, which is an interesting one to take a look at. Gold Shell HS3 is at $5.77 a day in HNS, which I like seeing. That's pretty good. Handshake's I've been running my Handshake miner for a while. We didn't earn a lot. We've been running it for like a couple years, the little one from Gold Shell, and I think total it only ever made like $300. Probably should have sold a lot of the HNS back during the bull run, to be completely honest. And I never did because it was like a set it and forget it kind of thing. Got the Gold Shell KD6 at $4.14 a day after power. Unfortunately, pretty low if you spent that $60K on it last year. The KD5 really not doing good at $1.75. And that's because we also have the KA3s starting to ship. The KA3s aren't listed here, but man, this is why ASICs are a sketchy game. You purchased that KD6 last year for $60K, and now you're outpriced, and there's a new miner out that's absolutely decimating it. The only ASIC miners I've ever seen that really survive bear markets for whatever reason have been script miners, because it appears that for whatever reason, script miners, at least in the past, have only been developed during bull runs. And you end up in a position where your previous cycle miners are still relevant for the next bull run. Is that going to happen again? Probably not, because right now script miners are kind of the only thing keeping the mining industry alive. I would expect to start seeing that trend to break down, meaning I would expect to start seeing bear market releases of script miners here in the near future, personally. Now, we do finally have to always look at the S19 Pro. And that is going to be at essentially, for Bitcoin, 11 cents a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour. It says mining rig rentals is $256 a day. I don't believe it. Digibyte's the most profitable at 60 cents a day, 10 cents a kilowatt hour on the S19 Pro. Now, I do have a little list here on CoinMarketCap. Let's look at our Bitcoin, or our watch list here for proof of work coins, and see what's looking the best. Over the past 24 hours, Flux is up the most at 1.85%. It is up to 73 cents per Flux. Beam is up 0.12% at essentially 17 cents per Beam. And then we do have slight pumps in Neoxa, slight pump in Erg, not really anything to speak of. Those are over the hour, nothing over the 24 hours. Let's look at the 7-day. Biggest pumper on the 7-day is Ethereum Classic out of our proof of work coins at 17%, up to 25.12. We have ETHW actually at 17.34% at $6.96 a day over the past 7 days. And then Flux is in third at 8% up over the past 7 days. Caspa, everything else kind of falls in line with essentially following market trends, with the big performers being in proof of work alternatives to Ethereum, interestingly enough. Now, if we compared that to actual Ethereum, which I think is relevant, Ethereum is up more than the proof of work competitors over the past 7 days at 19.46%. And obviously, like with the Google adoption, I would expect no less. Having the Google node adoption in for Ethereum, plus this kind of move that we also saw with Binance, excuse me, with Binance and what they're doing over in Kazakhstan, which we talked about yesterday. So check out yesterday's show if you're interested in that. Now, we are getting to the end of the show today. We will do about 15 minutes of super chat questions. So if you would like to ask a question, get your super chats in now. Super chats are always appreciated, never required, first to be answered. If you would like to ask a question outside of super chats, please tag at Son of a Tech, and that makes it easier for me to read it. And we're going to go ahead and hop into it. I did see that we had some super stuff earlier, but it's a little hard to scroll up for whatever reason. I wish that Google did this better for me, but I don't know who those came from. But I want to say thank you for the super stickers from earlier. I think, let's see. KJ says Pink Chain now has staking, really quite good so far. I don't know. Staking, yeah. Ted says, at Son of a Tech, Willy Pool is stating they're having special staking pool today. Okay. And that is for, okay, same thing. Sal1 says, have you gotten a DDL error with the new Mini Z? No, I have not. Script Baby says, 100. What's up, dude? And Leonardo says, where's the TeamSpeak? I want to hop in for Modern Warfare 2. That's going to be on the sonofatech.locals.com. And everybody is talking about the A2000. I retweeted the pricing of the A2000s coming down. We're starting to see them under 300. Definitely looking like the way to go, especially if you are going to get into shunt modding. So there is that. Kyle Rosa says, at Sonofatech, Avalon released new models of the A1366, 130 terahash at 25 joules per terahash, 3250 watts. Avalon did. When did Avalon release that? Has anybody picked one up yet? Oh. I'm looking at it now. Operation instructions. Looks like you can buy one now. Sorta. Not really. $130 terahash on what? Is that going to be on the... That's on Bitcoin, right? The A1366? Seems pretty good. Nick Burns, thanks for the $2.99 super sticker, boosting the algorithm. All right, so Mine Something says, at Sonofatech, which proof of work GPU mineable coin do you think has the most upside potential for the next bull run? Even though we have centralized aspects seem to perform quite well if we're being completely objective. That's just the way it goes. And if I look at it completely objectively and I had to pick a coin that I think is going to perform well for GPU miners, I would say it's going to be Flux. I just think that Flux has the most interesting opportunities within Web3. And, this competition coming in from Google is going to be interesting, right? But I think that overall it makes the most sense. Now, obviously, was bullish on Ergo. I'm just not really exactly sure what's going on with Ergo. I really don't know as far as like that is concerned. If I look at Ethereum Classic, I feel like the development is lacking, and most of it is copy pasta from Ethereum. So we aren't seeing any innovation on Ethereum Classic necessarily. Let's see. If we look at what are some of the other options here, right? So let's go through my watch list. Obviously, Caspa is off the list because Caspa is not going to be GPU mineable. We could look at ETH Proof of Work. I think has a pretty good chance because of its adoption here recently. And technically, it has the second highest market cap. Ravencoin, once again, really, I mean, my problems with Ravencoin are pretty well stated. I think you guys can go over all of those, but primarily development issues. I think that as far as its implementation of NFTs, I do think personally, look, I get the argument. I get the layer one, no smart contracts because it's, more, the idea is that it's more immutable because it's on chain. Smart contracts, in my humble opinion, as it pertains to DeFi and NFTs, offer a world of utility that Ravencoin will never be able to touch in its current iteration. And so unless devs are able to actually, utilize or put up, similar utility via smart contracts on that layer one solution, I don't see it being viable, especially because if it's not even trying to focus on something new. So it's like innovative as far as like, okay, well, we're going to do, layer one, asset tokenization, like on chain. Cool. Don't just copy what Ethereum was doing because you fall short there, right? You fall short on basically on chain, royalties, right? You fall short on marketplace KYC. You fall short in too many areas, and unless devs can really solve that, I'm not seeing it, right? I'm not seeing what makes it enticing, personally. That's my humble opinion on Ravencoin. I think that this, talk of like, oh, well, smart contracts are bad, so we did it this way instead, is like, okay, but you lost all the utility of the smart contracts. So like, how are you going to fix that? Like that's just my genuine question. Like, you lost all of the utility from it. So how are you going to fix that? And there doesn't seem to be, I haven't gotten a good answer yet, the best you can do is a non-KYC purchase marketplace, I suppose, but you still have to KYC if you're a seller. So, whatever. And then Ergo, I don't like spiteful moves, especially from large figures like Charles Hoskinson. I don't like look, if I was like an Ergo dev and or like whoever took over the account, I don't know who it is. I'm just saying, if I was given that account by Charles Hoskinson and I was running a community for another coin, I would have immediately returned it and I would not have repurposed it for Ergo, and that would have been it. Being that that's not the case, I have serious questions to how many ties and how much say Charles has over Ergo. And that's a big red flag to me. And it's not because I historically dislike Charles Hoskinson or anything. It's just a very clear, evident people problem. Okay. And if you got that people problem, you got to say, okay, what's going on behind the scenes? Cause something just seems sketchy. It just seems sketch. It is what it is. I think that I have a lot of red flags when it comes to Ergo now. It's been a constant slew of red flags. I get that we're in the bear market. These types of things are going to happen, but they are going to have to do something to gain my trust back. That's just it. I have basically very little trust in Ergo at this time, and I have a lot of questions. So there's like my lineup of like everything that's going on. It's weird because, if you would have asked me last month, right? Just last month in September, before pre-merge, we had Ergo in first place. We had Ethereum Classic in second and Flux in third, something like that. And that's kind of flip-flopped, right? We got essentially now, if I'm looking at it right now, I got Flux in first place, even though it has the centralization question marks as far as red flags for me go. I think it's making the most sense as far as survivability into the next bull run too. We already are aware that they're able to survive that, so I expect them to survive that. Ergo started kind of in a bear market, so it has a little bit of an advantage as far as that goes, but not as much as Flux. Flux did have to repurpose and rebrand from ZIL Cash or whatever, but they did it. It worked out. It functioned. So they're aware of how to get through this. I don't think that that's going to be a problem. And in fact, a little bit of that centralization, if I'm being completely objective, would say that it would be a GPU mineable coin, right? Like, obviously, you take a look at Ethereum, it was profitable, and part of that was because of the way it was manipulated. Unfortunately, that's what it is. I think that Flux has a good position to put itself into full decentralization at some point, so I'm bullish on that as far as that's concerned. But like I said, Ravencoin, something like, it's like the arguments for why it's good are making it not good, and I don't know something. It's like it's a technical problem that's got to get resolved, and then I think it can fly. I think it just needs a little bit more love from developers. I think it needs a lot more love from developers. And then I think that's where I sit at. Like, Ethereum Classic right now feels like a completely copy pasta of crappy NFTs that nobody wants. They just released their own new Shiba Classic. So there's like a Shiba Classic on there. It's ETC MAYC, ETC BAYC. It's, who cares, right? If we're being completely honest. Its big upside was a failure of ETH, which could be still a potential, but now that kind of limelight is shifting to ETH proof of work. Look, I know a lot of people didn't trust Chandler Go, but if we're looking at it as far as the fallback plan goes, I think ETH proof of work is coming up as the fallback plan for most developers if something goes wrong with proof of stake. The market cap, obviously the volume 24-hour, much higher on Ethereum Classic still, but for developers smoothly transitioning from failures on Ethereum, it's easier to transition to ETH proof of work. Okay. So that's kind of, I think that lines everything out. We'll get into some more questions and answers. Hopefully that answered everything for you there. Ben says, have you been trading Doge and ADA? I don't trade. Jason says, did you get to mine with the A750? No, I have not. Nick Byrne says, where'd you get the shirt? I got this at the crypto mining conference. They don't sell them, but you can get them if you go, and they'll be having one again next year. It's just called the mining conference. Stay tuned on my Twitter. And it's in Round Rock, Texas. There's also another one that's in Austin, Texas called Scott's Mining Conference. I think he has these shirts there as well. Nice guys. Ethan says S7 Tech 4094 nanometer versus 7900 5 and 6 nanometer chip efficiency once optimized in a year or so. Okay. Connection successful. Here we go. I'm not offline. I'm back online. All right. I think we're getting reconnected. Let me get this pulled back up, guys. Back in the live control room. I don't know if we got essentially... I have to do some look. I'm gonna have to look at my network a little bit later. Let's get chat back up. I see you guys in chat. If we could get a few more super chats, that'd be super awesome to help me out with the revenue, because we are under $1,000 or under $2,000 now for revenue for the month, which means I can't even pay rent, but that's okay. I'll figure it out. Let's see. So Tactic says, S7 Tech, please keep the show going. 2 to 3 per week. Find the clips redundant, but I watch them to refresh on the important stuff. I'm struggling too. That's the plan. We're going to be here 5 days a week, and it's 9:45 a.m. Central to 10:45 a.m. Central on this channel. Then we move over to, of course, Twitch. We stayed a little bit longer for Q&A, but we're about to move over to Twitch right now as it goes. And then, you know, thanks for the support, guys. I'm just going to ask for support because I got to ask for it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'll probably be moving in with my parents here soon anyways, because what else are we going to do? Can't hold down a job. I'm just a crypto degen that failed at life. It is what it is, boys. It is what it is. We made a good move. We made a bad move. We made the economy's collapsing and the world's coming to an end and we're fighting 3 wars on 3 different fronts. It's just insane. What are we going to do? It happens. We're going to get through. We're going to have fun. We're going to go play some Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 over on Twitch with you guys today and hang out. Wasted Trash Panda says, $2 super chat, said, hit the like button, how my ex-wife hit me. Oh, that's dark, bro. Nick Burns, thanks for the $19.99 super sticker. Rocking it. All right. So another thing that happened on my connection is apparently like I'm connected through Wi-Fi, which makes no sense. So we are going to, I'm going to troubleshoot some stuff on my side, and we're going to now move over to twitch.tv. Unless you guys got some more questions, but let me get this pulled up. Why am I on Wi-Fi? That is weird. All right, so Modern Warfare 2 community game day. All right, so we're going to move over to there. We'll be up in just a little bit. I'll get that link out to you guys. And then if you want to play Modern Warfare, just come on over there and we're going to get it going, okay? I want to thank everybody once again for stopping by today. If you have any more crypto questions, we'll be answering them over on twitch.tv/blindrun. Let me get that link for you guys in just a second. And then I'm going to go troubleshoot what happened there. And then all right, so we're going to move over to there now, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Peace. Please share the channel out.